especially we wanted to make sure that this was a chance for you guys to see some of the functionality. We don't often have time to go through the workflow and the steps and being able to allow questions as we do that. So we do want to do a little bit of that today with you. We are aware there are some things in the system that can always work better. This was part of our strategy going in. We've got both Jen and Marianne. They're both on our team. They both work on different aspects of user testing and usability. So I'm glad to have them both here because Jen usually conducts the formal acceptance testing. She's going to do the demonstration for us so you can see some of the changes if you've gone through this process in NRS. And if you haven't, this will be an opportunity for you to see the way we intend you guys to be using the software and hopefully give you a chance to dialogue with us and make some suggestions. We all are aware that this is a change from some of the things that you're used to in Report that even we're used to having you be used to in Report. So we're all in this together. And so what we want to do is show what a direct path for creating a project would be like. We know that some of you all have a slightly different way to do this than other institutions, but hopefully you can see that we're providing the broadest ability for different organizations to handle this differently. Some people have the PDs involved from the get-go. Others wait for them to maybe later stages or only very minimally. What we want to do is get a sense from you is how is the system adjusting to those realities from your perspective, and then also for us to let you know why we might have made some choices and maybe some things that we can do in the future. This release coming up is not going to fix every possible issue that you've observed since the first release, and it's not designed to. But we are going to hopefully make your life just a little bit better. We're going to hit on some things to improve some of the workflow. We've added a button, for example, to allow you to edit directly from the organizational review. Jen's going to show you how that works. We've also made some other general improvements. You know, some roles may not have seen a button when they expected it. Sometimes it's a little rough. When you create a project, you kind of move to another place. So we've tried to do some things to give you a little bit of comfort and understanding there. We also have a couple of issues with user management. For those of you who are organizational administrators, you may have tried in the past to create a user and give them the assistant organizational administrator because we didn't move those over from the portal or from Report. So you'd be adding them now. These are people who usually provide a support role. They may edit projects and they may help and work with PDs or help and work with the your administrative processes to get those projects ready to go to NIFA. Adding a person with that role did not work. You could give someone that role once they were added, but if you're adding someone for the first time, it was broken. That's fixed now. We also had some difficulties when creating a user and giving them certain funding types. We can tell you a little bit more about funding types, but suffice to say they're there to allow users to create and edit projects that are under that funding type. And this is research or extension type of funding, by the way. So we fixed that problem. We've had a couple of other things, whether they be wording changes, improvements to things in the interface that just needed to be done. So those you'll start seeing there. And we've done some things for internal so that NPLs are able to more quickly process the initiations. So we're not going to go over that piece, but Jen is going to walk you through the workflow. Keep in mind as she's doing that, she's going to play 2 different roles at a time. That's not something you as an individual user might do, but it might be helpful for you to see how different roles might be able to see things slightly differently than you. And so we'll take breaks along the way to allow you to ask questions. Both Jen and Marianne will take notes about your experience because it's a form of usability, figuring out how to make this process better for you. So with that said, I'm going to hand it over to Jen. She can walk through. We'll keep an eye on the chat and try to take breaks to give you some answers. Jen, go ahead and take it away.
Awesome. Thank you, Aaron. Appreciate it. So the first step in the process, I'm going to log in as a project director, create a research project, and then I'm going to log in as an organizational admin and take it to the next step of an org review and submit it to NIFA review. And then if we have time later, maybe I can, log into the system as an NPL and approve it. Approve it with approve the NIFA review, and then you just see the approve for the workflow. So right now I'm going to log in as a PD. So I enter my credentials here, put in my password. This is the test environment. So anything that you see here is not like necessarily real data. So I just want to put that out there. So I'm going to log in with the password. And as you can see here, it'll land you onto the dashboard. And like I said, I want to create a hatch project. So I will go over to the add button on the projects and programs tile, click that. So we're going to click add. And the first thing that we're going to do is select a funding source. So I want to create a research project. So I'm going to select research capacity fund hatch. And then I'm going to fill out the form. So primary critical issue, I can either select it or I can type. So I'm going to select water quantity, quality, and security. For the organizational project number, I'm going to select a prefix. For this sake, just for the sake of testing and demoing, or so just demoing, I'm just going to put in COPA 2021. And I'm going to use that as my title. I'm going to select the start date, say July 8, 2021. Select an end date. I'm just going to select November 11th. I'm going to select a project director. So so when selecting a project director, if you're logged in as a project director, you might want to consider selecting yourself, because if you don't, then if you want to edit the project, you won't be able to do so, because you're only able to edit the project you're only able to edit projects that you're the project director of. So for this sake, I'm going to select myself, software testee, and come down to the performing department. Select a performing department. For non-technical summary, for demo purposes, I'm just going to enter COPA 2021. Same for methodology. I'm going to select no for integrated activities. I'm going to enter 50% for basic, and we'll do 50 for applied. And I'm going to enter 2, or I should say 3, for animal health percentage. I'm going to select no for the multi-state activities. For classifications, I'm going to select a knowledge area, a subject of investigation, and the field of science. With these rows, you can also just enter a number if you know the number off the top of your head, or if you know the name of it, it'll come up if you type it. So I'm going to enter the percent. This has to equal 100. So if I add in another row, vertically, the percents have to equal to 100, if that makes sense. For assurances, I'm going to select no, I'm going to select no, and I'm going to click save. Now, we are working on a feature where any project that you create or edit will be at the top of the list, top of the projects and programs list in the dashboard. So in the time being, though, you can use the search function when you're trying to search for the project. So for this, we'll put COPA. As you can see, this is the COPA 2021 project that we just created with the status of draft. Are there any questions on this for now? I'm just going to pause really quickly so people can ask questions. Silence usually means no questions. Okay, Heather, I can't really see who's, so Heather, go ahead.
Yeah, so you mentioned that we need to make sure that you want to make yourself the PD if you're entering the project so that you can edit it.
If you need
So
to,
does
yes.
that mean that when we have our PIs enter their projects on their own, we set it up for them, and then we have them enter in, the justifications and all of that. And so as the org administrator, will I still be able to edit for them?
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to be clear on that. Thank you.
Yes. And I can actually show that. I can actually show you that function when we log in as an org admin.
Okay.
Are there any other questions? Okay. So I'm gonna continue on with the workflow. Is that okay? Okay, awesome. All right, so for the actions here, I'm going to edit. So I click the edit here, or I can just select the project by clicking the title link. I'm going to scroll down. I'm going to submit for organizational review. And then I'm going to search for my project. It actually does take a minute for it to update. So let's go back. Our projects and programs. COPA, and here you can see org review. So now you can see as a project director, it's under org review. See? Okay. And now I'm going to log in. Lynn, do we want to answer questions in the chat as we go along, or did you want to just address those at the end?
I think you should go through the demo and then we'll come back and answer the questions.
Sure.
To see all the different roles.
Okay. So I'm going to log out now, and I'm going to log back in as an organizational admin, an org admin. And I'm going to pull up my little cheat sheet here. Going to log in as an org admin. And then I'm going to go to manage on the projects and programs tile. So I'm going to click manage here. So here you have to give it a couple of seconds for projects to actually pop up because there are so many projects. You gotta be a little patient with the system. I'm going to search for my project. As you can see, it's COPA 2021. It's under org review. So as an org admin, I'm going to come in here. And if I want to make edits, I can. So I click the edit button. And let's say I want to select another primary critical issue. I'll just select this here. Start date. I'm going to select another start date. We'll say the 26th. So I know that we actually have a story in the backlog to address the save issues that we've been having. I just want to let you all know that we are in the process of addressing that, or I should say it's already been fixed, I think, and it's in the backlog. Aaron, do you want to talk more about that, or did I cover that right?
Sorry about that. Yes. Yeah, so there are some people who are having trouble with some of their save behavior. As soon as we get this release done and out the door, which we expect later today or tomorrow morning, then we will be making that fix. We hope that it's done by the end of the week, but we'll keep you advised on that. In the meantime, yes, please let us know if you're having difficulties with save. If there's an urgency and it can't wait for that fix, please let us know. Our advice will likely be to create another project with all of the data and move that one forward, and we'll help you have the other one. But that's only in an extreme case. If you can hang on a little bit longer, we should be able to get that so that you can submit it properly.
Right. Thank you, Erin. So I'm going to select Save Now. Brings me back to the Projects Programs dashboard. I'm going to look for my project. And I'm going to submit it for organizational review. Let's go back. So let me see. Org review, submit for NIFA review. Got to give it a couple more seconds for it to actually update. And as you can see, it's under NIFA review. So are there any questions on the actions we just did? Okay, so I'm going to now log out.
I got a quick question. Would you mind just showing, oh, I'm sorry, you've logged out.
Sorry, no, you're all right.
I missed like, when it's submitted by the PI, can you show it again? How does the org review, how would we tell the difference? I kind of missed that, I'm sorry.
So you want me to log in as a project director, or you want me to log in as an org admin?
Yeah, as the org admin and how it looks in comparison once they've submitted it.
Okay,
Thank you.
sure. So if I go to status and I filter, you'll see draft, right? So that's basically like the first status. And then when it's submitted, the second status will be, it's in here, org review. So these are org reviews here, right? Test 7721 PD, test 7721 AOA. So if I go here, as an org admin, I'll submit it for NIFA review.
Okay,
If I
so
go back to
under status, okay, I see.
under status, yes. So draft will be, still in draft. It hasn't been submitted to org review, right? After draft, when it's under org review, it'll be in org review state in that status. And then when it's submitted to NIFA review, then it'll have the NIFA review status.
Thank
Does
you.
that make sense?
Yes, thank you for clarifying. I missed that step. Thank you.
Yeah, sure, no problem. Okay. So now I'm going to log out. So this is basically like the end of the work, the end of the workflow for like, for you guys, I guess you can kind of say, for LGUs, right? So now I'm going to log out and I'm going to log in as an NPL.
Jen, can I ask you a question before you
Sure.
do that? Not necessarily on process. The process is very, very simple. Will there be the ability or, I don't know if ability is the right word, but the steps built back in to export a PDF or an email notification? Our controllers are asking. They said it's fine right now for taking a screenshot like we've talked about that a project's been approved, but they are asking for in the future further documentation that a project's been approved. So will that be built back in at some point?
Yeah, so I think, so the first question that you asked is, are we going to have a functionality of where you will be able to export the project?
Correct.
In short, yes, we will have that functionality. In terms of when timeline, I can't tell you that. I really don't know. That will probably, that's above me. So that's really,
You're good.
that's outside my pay grade. So it's really Erin and Lynn and the rest of the folks to kind of decide on that. But we do have a story reflecting that in the backlog. At some point, yes, you will get that, and we're hoping to try to get that out the door in the next release. But that's it's really up to Lynn and Erin to kind of direct there. The second question I think you were asking was
Regarding an email approval of a project, because right now you're just
Notifications.
kind of going back
Yes.
every day and checking, and it's really for our internal controllers because they want like 2 and 3, ways to cover your butt in case we were ever audited, basically, which I totally get, because right now I'm just giving them a screenshot
Right.
and they're saying it's sufficient, but I just fear that one day they may change their mind and say no.
Yes. So for the notifications, we do have a story reflecting notifications when I think statuses change or something like that. I don't necessarily remember the actual details, but I do know that we have a story capturing that. Again, timeline in terms of when I can't tell you that. I really don't know. That would be up to the overall team. But in short, yes, you will get those 2 features. It's just more so, time wise, which we're trying to get it get it out the door soon.
Was that Melissa? Was that Melissa talking?
Yep, it's me, Aaron. Yep.
Yeah, I just want to check too. Has it been considered to give those folks access, a view-only access?
I don't think that they want it, Aaron. I think it would just be one more step for them. I've just been screenshotting right now for them. And she said what our internal controller said this morning is she said that my screenshot is sufficient right now to set up a new internal index. But when she says for now, I just feel like she may get cranky because that's her job, is auditing how we set these things up, right? So for now, I think it's okay, but I think she'll want something in the future. And I told her we can't right now because the functionality's not there.
Yeah, and what they're looking for is the approval date and the information,
Yep.
Metadata, if you will, of the project to make sure it traces. So like project numbers, the session numbers, that kind of stuff, right?
Correct. And I'm just screenshotting that, and I can provide, I take these and I put them in a Word form, and then I copy and paste it back in from the PD. So I could provide her with that right now. I'm just worried that she needs something that says USDA NIFA, besides my screenshot.
Interesting. Okay. No, I got you. And by the way, it's not like we don't want to do that stuff. We're also just trying to make sure that needs 2 and 3 are also being considered, so that
For sure.
we hit it as hard as we can the right way. But yeah, an email and the export, of course, all that stuff. But you're right on. And I think this archive concept is also something we should talk about, like tracing back to the NIFA was the one who sent that, or it was generated out of a NIFA system. I think that would probably also be worth trying to make sure is in there. Because I'm not sure that the PDFs that Report has necessarily has some of that, but we can look into it.
Great. Thank you.
So one thing that I definitely wanted to show as an org admin and completely forgot until now. So as an org admin, when you've submitted a project for NIFA review and you need to pull it back, you can by using the retract function, but it really should only be used like depending on the changes, right, on the situation. If you can hold off on it, then hold off on it. But if you really, really need to retract it, then you can just click the retract button and it'll actually like pull it back from the NIFA review. Once that happens, you have to go through the whole process again, right? Like it'll be back in draft. And then you have to go through the org review again and go through the NIFA review again. So just want to bring that up. I'm going to log out now and log in as an NPL now. And then I'm going to select manage on the projects and programs tile. I'm going to give it a couple of seconds for the projects to populate. And then I'm going to look for my COPA 2021. And as you can see, I can approve, defer, decline. If I defer, it'll go back a step, right? And if I approve, then, obviously it'll approve. If it declines, it's dead and you can't really like revive it. You would have to actually create a new project. So for the sake of demoing, I'm just going to select approve. And I'm going to search for, and you got to give it a couple of seconds. Go back to this, COPA.
So in the case of a deferment, will the PD get notified by the NPL then directly?
Lynn, do you want to answer that?
Sorry, what was the question?
Oh, Lynn, it's Missy. I just wondered if a project was deferred, if the NPL would reach out to the PD for that project then directly?
Yes, so they have access to your email addresses in the spreadsheet that I give them. Hopefully they'll eventually see that in the system and they can just reach out to the PD. We're still kind of working out the details on the NIFA side. We're supplying them a spreadsheet. I'm working with one of the institute directors to make the assignments. A lot of them jumped right in and approved quite a lot of them, but we need to get into a rhythm with these guys with the new system. So I have a meeting with them tomorrow, with all the NPLs tomorrow. So I should have a better sense of what they need. And
Hey,
how
Missy, I had a
to work with
question.
them.
Sorry, Lynn, go ahead.
No, that's all right. I'm done.
Well, so when we build this notification, some organizations have lots and lots of organizational administrators, site administrators. Who should all of them get notified when these things happen? I'm just, I think about like if there's 10 or 15 people who might have that role, should they all get notified when someone's project's been approved?
Absolutely.
I think the more people that get the email, the better. I mean, in a lot of institutions, it's like one person that's actually doing the next step action items, but it's always better, I think, to have all of those people listed because, that person that does the work could be gone, or it's more is usually better because it might slip through the cracks.
Yeah, I mean, and that's fine. Obviously, it doesn't matter to us. What matters is your experience. We do have also now more extension people involved in the mix here too. Some of them have taken on that org admin role so that they can manage some of the extension side folks. One of the things we could do is we could, even though we like org admins to have complete control, we could find a way maybe to filter out certain notices based on the funding types. Although we would encourage org admins to have all the funding types, but just throwing that out there, we could do that. We'll get into more detail on this, but I just thought I'd ask. Looks like Rachel has a question.
Right. So Erin, when you're talking about the emails going to org admins, you do mean org admins and not the assistant org admins. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, again, we'll do whatever, you all prefer. But right now, I think it would be set just to org admins, but.
Perfect. I'm fine with that. I just don't want it to go to the assistant because we put one in each unit.
Gotcha. Sure.
Or admins, I think it will be a great idea, including all of them for individual institutions. Erin,
Well, I don't want to turn this into like the notification email discussion. We need some time on that. I'd rather show you what we think and then you guys give us reaction. It'll largely be based on what's in report, but I just like to probe as well to make sure that we're not spamming you off the block.
So really quickly, I actually wanted to show the ability to add a role. Not sure if we're interested in showing that, Erin or Lynn.
Yeah, we can. Rachel, did you have a follow on?
I had one question. This is Sunshine. I had one question about the reviews. If something is deferred, where are the comments that the NPL makes? Are they going to be visible to everyone in the project?
Yeah, it's again another feature we're going to add. Sorry, Lynn, go ahead.
Yeah, well, for temporarily, Sunshine, they're going to be in the email from the NPL to the PD.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to log in as an org admin. And come down to manage roles, manage. And then from here, let's say Fisher, project director. So I can select like assistant org admin here. Assistant org admin. And then that's essentially just it. You select on the user profile and you can see that they have the assistant org admin role. Or you, if you want to, you can, select the person and change the role this way. Product director or state contributor. For this, we'll just put project director
Hey,
for
Jen,
now. Sure.
Jen, would you mind slowing this down a little bit? I want to show people the exact behavior. So if you could pick assistant org admin, I just want to point out.
Can't. Not as an org admin won't see that sys admin in there. Is that what you're referring to?
No, actually, it was, well, the org admin checkbox there.
Oh, okay, got it.
Right. So now if you choose assistant, I believe it should uncheck that box. Yes. And then if you pick assistant, notice that Jen can't check the org admin box.
Right.
That was a restriction because that combination, it's not really, doesn't really make sense. So just be aware that if you have the org admin checked and you go to try to give them the assistant org admin, it will uncheck that box.
Right.
And that's by design. We're still working on some of this. There's a note, and I addressed it in the comments, but the org admin is sort of something that supersedes the role itself, meaning it augments it. It allows you to edit and approve projects, create them, etc. So it kind of goes beyond that. Remember, we're still in a journey to combine functions that were in the plan of work itself along with functions that were in report. So we still have some roles that overlap a little bit. We, for example, see about 40% of those who filled the site administrator role in report also had what's called the state contributor role in the plan of work, the POW system. Plan of work state contributor folks, they assemble the plan of work, they work on critical issues and those kinds of things, but often they're all involved in managing roles and kind of setting up maybe on the extension side. So that's sort of why this overlap and this checkbox is happening. So we're continuing to improve on it. This is one of those things. That specific rule is what actually caused this to break. But we're happy to make sure that it's now working. So if for some reason you had the assistant org admin paired with the org admin checkmark, if they are an org admin, just go make them something other than assistant, and then you should be good to go. There was nothing wrong with the combination. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. You can't be the org and the assistant. I mean, maybe you can, but not in the system.
Right.
Thanks, Jen.
Yeah, absolutely. You would also need to select a funding type here as well. And that was basically just it. Sorry. And someone had a question?
Rachel still has her hand up. Did you have a follow-up?
Oh.
No, I just can't figure out how to put it down.
So I think this probably concludes the demo. Was there anything else, Lynn or Aaron, that you guys wanted to show that I haven't covered yet?
I think that was it.
Okay, awesome. All right, so I'll turn it back to you then, so you can.
Let's go through
Well,
the chat box.
Yeah, let's go through the chat box. I was going to mention too, just kind of following back up, one of the things that we're going to be doing with the version that you're seeing, the view only. I like that it's pretty clean and it's very easy to do. You can, sift through it very quickly. It's all accessible through mobile, tablet, pretty much any modern browser. Do note that our app does not work in IE 11. So if anybody's seeing that as an issue, we could address it and take it there, but IE11 is going to be taken offline and full support of Edge, which really is very similar. It has a backend like Chrome, so they're really similar in browser wise. But if you guys are having issues with any browsers or tablets or mobile, please let us know, because we're trying to make it very accessible for you. I mean, I don't know how many people are using a tablet or a phone to look at this stuff, but it is possible. So we're excited about that. But in terms of that view and what will eventually become the export, you're going to be missing a few items and data points that we expect will be there in the fullness of time. Obviously, a session number has been brought up a few times, just so everybody's aware. We have a session numbers. They just aren't being displayed in the system quite yet. We're making sure that it's completely compatible with all the other NIFA systems and they're flowing the right way. But we'll get those to you, because we certainly want that to be part of the official record. We know it's the way you and NIFA, both the LGUs and NIFA, can track back to a project. But there's also details about your organization that we're going to help try to make better. NIFA has no less than about a dozen different lists of organizations and names and addresses, phone numbers, points of contacts, DUNS numbers, all these kind of fancy things. We're trying to centralize it in one place for all of NIFA to use, especially the financial systems, which I know are not as crucial for the initiation, but they're very important to AMD, and it's the language they speak. So we're trying to work on that. Those things will eventually make their way into these archival versions, these official export versions. So expect that's going to come along soon as well. We're trying to work out a lot of different moving pieces on that. But just for awareness, if you don't see your org name or an address or those POCs and those kinds of things, we are working through that. Report had a lot of probably very outdated and inaccurate information. We would like that not to be the case anymore. In order to happen, it's going to take us a few waves of updates, and we're trying to call a bunch of other outside data to make sure that's compatible too. So stay with us. We'll let you guys help us get the answer correct, just like we're doing with AMD and OGFM. So stay tuned for that and see that project information will start being better and better over time. Thanks. And I'll turn it over to Lynn so we can answer more.
All right. So the attribution to NIFA funding and publications has a session numbers. If you need to refer to a grant, obviously the funding type will help us identify and perhaps include the title project in lieu of an accession number. We will get those visible to you as soon as we can, but in the meantime, it's just important that we can find the project. And then if you need, I think you use grant numbers for iEdison. So that's another thing we're gonna have to work on. So if I get any other information from our policy group, I will put that in my update email, but I think that's the best route now, is just so we can identify what project that publication is linked to. So somebody said they can't find their assistant org admin, just added them. These updates have not gone out. Everything that Jen has been showing you is on a test site. And so we hope to get this out, if not tonight, then tomorrow. Yes, Aaron? Have you guys scheduled it?
Tonight or tomorrow morning. For those who are trying to add assistant org admin, the workaround at this moment would be to add them, say, view only role. And then once they're added and you've created their record, you can go and change their role to assistant org admin. That will work. It's just obviously an extra step that's not necessary. But if you can wait till tomorrow, it should be there.
All right, Aaron, I think you responded to Terry. She's got a few projects that need to be terminated due to the PDs leaving.
Yeah, we may have to be a little bit ad hoc on some of this, you know, projects ending earlier than we expected and have already been moved to NRS. We don't have a way to back those out of NRS very easily, so we'll work with you. Mechanics of report, we'll just have to do our best there. We have some tricks up our sleeves, and hopefully we can get you closed out there. If you are not in NRS, though, this is something for you, Lynn, to cover. But if we didn't migrate you because you were supposed to be closed out this year, you know, Lynn, I think our advice right now is just create a new record in NRS. But then obviously, you know, we have to have an official word about the mechanics of report at that point, because they'd be going into a final report and that kind of stuff. But, you know, we may have to be a little ad hoc, but go ahead, Lynn.
Yeah, if you guys have these situations, what I suggest is just reach out to us at the POW email address, soon to be nrs@usda.gov. Just, you know, give us as much information about the project, the PD name, the title of the project, the funding line, and we will work with you guys. We're going to have to coordinate with the report team and those programmers. It may just be better for them to close out in report if that is still possible. So we're just going to have to take it case by case until we work through this transition. I currently only have view only access. I need to be able to edit. Are my permissions set up correctly as the org admin?
I think I covered this one, Lynn.
Did you? Okay.
Yeah, the combination of view only as a role with org admins a little bit, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't. So we're going to work on that wording. But just know this, that it doesn't matter what you pick in the dropdown. If you are an org admin, you will have the same editing and approval rights that the site admins and report do. So you'll have full access. So it's just the reference to the view only that throws me off. We'll fix that in time, but that's a legit thing. Just know that whatever you pick in the dropdown, the org admin will supersede it.
All right, so Debbie, you've already answered this, but for people who aren't keeping up with the chat, Debbie asked about classifications for extension. We have not put them in the extension side yet. We don't have a date for adding those. We're still talking to our budget people about it. If we do add them to extension, we will have to work with the extension working group to adjust those so they're more applicable to extension. I know there was a working group on that way before I joined this team. Aaron was on the project at that point, so he probably knows more about it. But if we get to that point, we'll dig up the work that was done and build on it and go from there.
We have it. We have it. I promise.
Okay. So here's a question. Can PD see everyone else's projects or just their own? Everything's visible?
Yeah, the only thing is that, like, if you're, let's say, PDA and you go to your dashboard and you see, or, you know, you see projects from PDB, Project Director B, you can view it, but you can't make any changes to it because you're not the project director of that project.
Okay, but you would only be seeing ones from your organization, correct?
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
Okay, you're only seeing the ones of fellow PDs from your organization.
Correct.
Okay.
In the long term, we'll probably obviously approve projects just like they do in report. They eventually make their way to these other reporting mechanisms. So we'll eventually have that, but that's not possible at the moment.
Okay, so Chris Hansen has a inverse to Terry. So again, just reach out to us and we'll work with you on it. So from Rachel, so the review screen for NPL seems pretty straightforward, much less to review. Yes, we fought hard for that streamlining. How long should it take an NPL review to be completed? That is really hard. I think we're gonna start tracking the turnaround time. But like I said earlier, we need to get into a rhythm with them. It's gonna change as we add more functionality. So I think they are allowed 30 days to review. Where it gets hung up is if they're in panel for 2 weeks and then they take vacation for a week. So we haven't built an email system for them because we're trying to convince them to have more flexibility. We would like them to come into the system on a regular basis, search by a field, say critical issues or an institution, instead of us trying to feed a specific KA to a specific NPL who may be out of commission for whatever reason for several weeks. So we're still working on that inside NIFA. And so we'll just have to wait and see. But we do have somebody on the program side who will help us monitor. And I have found out on the annual report reviews that when I CC their division directors, I get a pretty quick response. So we're involved. Keep the leadership team updated on what hasn't been reviewed after a week or after 2 weeks. And so we'll keep on that for you guys. If you have a project that for whatever reason you need a quick turnaround time, send me an email and I will work with the leadership team to assign it to someone. All right. Is it safe to submit one-year extension requests at this time? I think so. I don't know what would prevent us from accepting those.
How do we do that?
Aaron? Can they change the end date?
I have to look it up. But
I think we changed the end dates in the UAT this morning, Jen.
In my case, it's a project that hasn't been migrated because it's set to expire this year, but still has the ability to be extended.
right, so Lynn, I mean, that's the mechanics I was talking about. So progress report wise, I mean, if this was extended in report, a progress report would be due instead of a final report. Well, on the one hand, the reports that we do in the future is going to be far more forgiving, we think, than probably the final reports. But at any rate, my instinct is let the report one die out, right? And then start a new one in NRS. So in a way, though, what that means is that even if it's a short-lived project, you're just going to extend it for 6 months or a year or something like that, all of the results from that now extended project will probably start accumulating and being reported, but in the new system rather than worrying about the old system, right? So to me, I think that would be a little bit better way to go and probably a lot less effort. I know you'll have to copy over some of the initiation data, like the non-technical summary and, you know, add in the KAs, but I'd say in 10 minutes, you could have that fixed up. And then we can help you pilot it in with the NPL that doesn't require them to do any reapproval. They're just kind of, I mean, it's a reapproval of the date, but the substance is the same. And then that gets us in the new system where all the existing projects would be reporting anyway. So it's just a technicality that the old report record, you know, finished out that way. And the final report's probably not going to be too dazzling because you obviously have more work to be done. And so it's not like we're going to go back and there's final reports are where we get a lot of the substance. So the progress reports are important for compliance and for making sure steady progress. We'll pick that stuff up eventually. But to me, when we pick that stuff up that's in report of the past, it won't matter to us if it was a progress or a final report. We'll still mine it for, you know, the important pieces for continuity, right? So to me, it's a technicality whether it's a final report or a progress report in this situation.
I would, if you do extensions in NRS, I would mark it somewhere, highlight it, just for us to track it in case there are implications. And I would just put that up front center in the non-technical summary.
Great, that was the detail I was looking for. Thank you.
Yeah.
So sorry, it's Joanne. I was a little confused about that. So if you're just going to put the final year into NRS, then does it get assigned a different accession number? And then how do you keep it from having to go through NPL approval?
We'll have to go pick up the accession number from report. Because it didn't get, you have a project that didn't get migrated, Joanne?
Oh, no, I just thought that's what we were talking about, was somebody wanted to extend a project. So let's say they had a 4-year project. They want to extend it for 1 year. The way I understood Aaron was just go ahead and put that final year into the NRS. Is that right, Aaron? That's what you said?
Yeah, I mean, it's a nuance again. It's a point of view. We can do a couple things there. Let me give that some thought. I know what you're pointing out there. So, and worst case scenario here too, if we have a large enough number that this is a widespread thing, we'll have to come up with a different solution.
Yeah.
But you know, if this is like 1 or 2, less than 5, like I just don't know if we need to ramp this up to getting more approvals and reapprovals and report and extending, you know, because I guess where I'm at is this: at some point, all projects in report will stop reporting. The sooner we can get that done, the better and more clear the NRS process will be. So while I'm not saying the information is going to be the same, whether we record it in report or record it in NRS, I favor NRS so that we have a clearer vision of what that future reporting looks like, and we hope it's a little bit less burdensome. How it connects back to the older data is a problem we're trying to track separately. I just don't want to keep extending. Well, hey, we do this except for in this case. That's what I'm trying to avoid here a little bit. Because progress reports for things that are extended are not going to be done in report, only final reports. But again, I don't want people tripped up on doing a final report if really they just need to do a progress. That makes sense. And so in report, if you were to extend a project that was supposed to end and we didn't migrate, right? We may just, and this is up to Lynn and some of the conversation, we may just say, hey, ignore that final report and just do what you would do, what we asked you to do in NRS, right? But trying to keep that straight, I know it's a
Yeah, I think again, just reach out to us. We'll talk to the report team and see what's possible. But I do agree with Aaron that we want to have you guys in NRS as much as possible. Let the projects that are ending this year, fiscal year, close out in report. And for those of you who have been in the new system, we've really streamlined it. So you can copy and paste in there. And it's not as many fields to reinitiate. So let us, we'll get back to you guys on that one. But in the meantime, if you have one of those situations, reach out and we can talk to the team about the best route. I'd like to pull AMD and our internal working group in on some of these discussions as well. Shannon, is there a way to see all of our projects on one page? We have 29 pages. That would be
Not right now. But
not right now.
We'll consider it. We'd like to focus on allowing you to do an export of the full table as opposed to seeing it on the interface, but both are possible. We want to start with the pagination process first, make sure that people who want to, you know, keep it shorter can do that. There are obviously ways to make that longer. We could definitely increase it to say 25 and reduce the number of pages. But at the same time that we'd rather get you the ability to export it, which would give you, you know, kind of like an Excel view.
Going back to PDFs, we route PDFs of the project initiations for internal approval purposes before submitting. Having an export function would be greatly appreciated. Yes, we are definitely working on that one. Yeah, that's it. Are we really going to finish in an hour? That would be a first.
I think so, Lynn.
Yeah, is there anything else you guys want to see? I think Jen demoed most everything. The priorities that you guys have are really clear, and we are working most of them to come out in the immediate future. Rachel, you have a question?
Right. So we talked about what was going to be in this release that's coming out, and we know everything that everyone has on their wish list. Can you give us just a heads up, like this is what we're going to do now, this is what we're focusing on for the next release, and kind of like if a PDF is important to us and we say, okay, there's 6 releases maybe coming before we ever get to that status, then we just have to come up with an internal plan.
Yeah, no, I get it, because I've always said that, you know, when the electricity goes out, it's not how long it's out, it's not knowing when it's coming back on. That uncertainty is actually harder than living without electricity. So I'm going to throw it back to Aaron. We have a loose schedule. We can't give you exact dates, but one of the things we do as a team on a regular basis is looking at what we can do, what's a priority, what gives you guys and our NIFA staff the highest value. So Aaron, you want to talk just generally high level?
Yeah, so I mean, so first things first, here's what I heard, and maybe I'm a little off base, maybe not in exact order, but you know, export, the ability to export a version of the initiations is a top priority. We obviously know notifications and emails and that kind of thing are also a priority. Based on other user feedback and obviously it being annoying, we want to make sure that if you make a change to a project that's in draft, that save issue that some people are experiencing, we want to resolve that. That's probably our top priority. That actually we expect to happen in the next couple of days. Give us to, you know, Monday or Tuesday, depending on if things get hung up. We're working on this other release. I was originally thinking maybe it would be this afternoon, but it looks like it might be pushed to the morning. But again, it'll be ready to go. So everything Jen showed you, look for that by, you know, morning time, you know, East Coast time. As far as other priorities, some of the data elements that we talked about, we want to make sure that stuff gets done this summer. We're also taking a look at other non-POW funding type projects, getting the rest of the capacity projects out of report and putting them into NRS. We're obviously right now in the design phase of what the progress report, annual report of accomplishments for POW are looking like. So we'll be doing requirements through the summer on that and then starting to build in the fall. Other things such as sort order, ability to export the list view, other improvements to just the interface or even the workflow. Oh, that's one that's in the top 5 is the ability to relax the rules. Right now, if you make a change to anything in the new form, it does require NPL approval, NIFA approval. We'd like to relax that so that it's only a core set of fields. And that includes the project director changes, we all know can be sensitive for a lot of different good reasons. But we also recognize we're in a new system. We just brought a whole bunch of folks over. We're not asking everybody to go out and get e-auth today, but we know in time, every project director needs to have an e-authentication account and connect to their projects. When they do that, there's a possibility that an email might change or some update might have to happen. So putting hundreds or heck, even thousands of projects back through reapproval doesn't make a lot of sense to us. So we would like to relax that, but then turn that back over to a more formal process, because AMD has advised us that those project changes need to be run by them as well. So top 5 again to me are the save issue, the export ability, relaxing the rules on reapproval, the
NIMS.
NIMS, right? I didn't even mention NIMS, but for Hatch multi-state, we want the ability to connect to all that good information that comes from the NIMS system that you're used to in report. So for those who would initiate a Hatch multi-state, remember you'd pick the NIMS project. We don't have that ability to do that for new projects right now, but we'll be building that in. So that's number 4. And number 5 is probably like notifications and emails and those kinds of things. That's going to take us a little longer to build, to be sure. So it might not happen right away. We hope that you're able to navigate and manage, decently right now. It's going to take some adjustment, but we want to get that in there. Probably on the top 10 list also is something like that. Notice when something's deferred and some of that communication, but that would be, I'd want to see how well that would work with the email system, paradigm and the way we're going to do that as well. So it'd probably be hand in hand with that. So in terms of timing, look, we want to get you in a rhythm where every a few weeks you're seeing something, if that makes sense. So you're going to see some, we obviously started this off in May. We've had 3 releases since then. There might be minor things, but hopefully they've improved things. Some of them were issues that we wish hadn't come along with that first release, but we've resolved them. We're improving the workflow. Sessions like this and the questions help us understand and focus. So we'll have this release here. We're going to have the save in a couple days from now. It'll be a few weeks, but we should have export after that. So kind of July-ish, early August would be my guess there. There's some other things that we've touched on that we may be able to do that. Relaxing the rules also with that release, depending on the timing, and then depending on how the discussions go with NIMS, that would start coming along while we're building notifications. It'd sort of be my thought process there. And the notifications will probably be in waves as well for everybody's awareness. Like we'll probably get the most important ones like, hey, your project's approved. Hey, your project's deferred. Those are probably the 2 most important ones. But then there's other things like, hey, this is in org review, or hey, this project's been edited, something like that. Those kinds of things will iterate over time. Hopefully that sounds good.
Yeah.
But again, that's why we want these sessions.
Yeah. So Debbie asks if we have a schedule for this type of meeting. I kind of wanted to see how many people we would get. The purpose of this session was not to do a full-blown presentation, but the timing worked out to show you guys the updates. What I was hoping to achieve by this session is some of you guys, when you call me, you apologize for interrupting me or burdening me. So I wanted to make some of us available an hour, 2 hours. You come into the call if you have a question about the system, if you have a question about how to deal with these anomalies. We would be available at a time that you guys would know about. So I wasn't quite sure if you know, people would show up. So I guess my question back to you all, yeah, hence the office hours title. Do you want something like that? Or if I put something out, you're gonna feel obligated to attend? Because I don't want to add to anyone's burden, but I do want the team to be available as we transition to a new system.
I think if you keep it more truly like office hours, like you were just describing, where we come in if we have a question that we can get answered because you guys are available at a specific time, would be great. I'm glad I was here because I got to see Jen's demonstration. And that wasn't, clearly that wasn't on your agenda originally when you set this up. So yeah, I really like the format of having office hours when we know that you're available to answer any questions that we might have.
Yeah, and you know, I wanted to relax things a little bit this month. We pushed the team really hard to meet that May deadline. They've been working really hard to fix some of these glitches and, you know, get it to be a smoother experience for you guys. So I do want to, you know, step back, let people take vacations. Aaron's going to be out. Some of his team's going to be out. I might try to sneak on another 3-day weekend. That was nice. So
do
I was hoping,
you plan on keeping the fourth Wednesday of the month one on the calendar, or are you going to back off of that for a little bit?
I'm going to back off of July.
Okay.
But I think we'll be back on for August.
All right, thanks.
So I didn't want to totally disappear. I didn't, my thought was I would grab Jen or Nafi, but then this week looked good for everyone. And so Aaron showed up, but my original intent was not to impose this on Aaron, give Aaron a break from the webinars.
Well, I like it so much. Don't ever, but at the same time, I think that is the answer a little bit, is to be a little bit diverse in what we offer. Try to have some continuity from from time to time, you know, some a little bit more formal, some hopefully, you know, keeping questions open. I think absolutely open forums are good. And I think Lynn and I just have our own rhythm sometimes, like, you know, we'll seize on things as they come up, but we also want to keep the door open because we know we're working with certain channels, right? But we're also very wide-eyed that there are a lot of channels and a lot of folks out there who might not be getting our message. So we're trying to diversify that a bit. And we're trying to put a little bit more strategy to it so that the updates are really contiguous. Like, you may not get everything in every session, but you'll hear a lot of the similar kind of things, but, you know, with different audiences.
So I agree with Debbie that it's a great resource that you guys made available. And I probably wouldn't have attended the NRS office hours, but since you tacked on and other updates, I got nervous. And so if it really is like office hours, then, you know, but if it's real updates, because I thought that was, I'm glad I didn't miss Aaron's loose schedule, because it kind of, you know, gave me a good idea of when things are going to be available. And so
yeah, and listen, I'll try to get this posted, the recording posted quickly. It goes through several layers, as you can imagine. But I will put the heat on the people who have to approve it and get it up there. Our comms group is amazing. They're not the issue. It's getting it past people who are super, super busy still. But yeah, I'll get that posted up on the NRS site, and then you guys can share it or refer back to it. Yeah, so if you do have questions, just reach out to the POW@usda.gov. When we get it changed, we'll link that POW email address to the NRS one. So don't worry about your emails getting lost. We will link those. So
Yeah, and I would say too, if you don't mind me kind of
sure.
emphasis there, Lynn and I love getting your emails and we try to be very responsive, but we're also finding that we want to make sure there's continuity. Other members of my team can also be responsive, whether I'm out or not, or Lynn's out or not, at least we can start tracking it. We eventually will need to formalize this as well. We need to move you guys into a place where you can get instant feedback about, you know, minor, simple things like we are trying to work with EOF because we know people as they register have questions there. But beyond that, like if it's app specific, whether it be an enhancement request or, you know, general issue that you're having, we want to start tracking it so it doesn't fall between the cracks. We're trying to stay attentive and this is helpful to make sure we're getting it. But yes, the POW mailbox and then eventually the NRS one will be our mainstays and a way for you to register with us, and allows more people than just me or Lynn to respond as needed.
Yep. So we actually have a meeting with the EOF team in 1 minute. So we're going to have to depart. And I will get this posted. And if there are other updates, I will send them out. So you guys all have a great week and we'll see you shortly.
Thanks, folks. Bye-bye.
You're welcome.